Okay, we should be live now. Uh, how's everybody doing? We may have another guest coming. Constantine, say hello. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, I'm still really frustrated because this hasn't emailed me yet. I'm gonna. So here's what, Constantine, don't reply to this. Okay, don't click it either, because if you click it, you'll break it. Just ignore what I'm about to do to you, and that'll be the best. Okay. Anyways, Constantine, say something while I fix this. Yeah, I have a fun video. This is, I feel like this video is like Ukraine in a nutshell. Uh oh, it's just so funny. It's so funny. I love how, like, it's just trying to turn the corner, and just everything goes wrong. Oh, it fell in a hole. It's terrible. It's terrible.
vehicles to successfully operate there is quite crucial.
Yeah. Okay. So all the
Okay, Andrew, they cannot. I
I
think.
fixed it. I fixed it. It's no big deal. There's some. I don't know if I'm gonna have to like update OBS because all my plugins are just like breaking like every single time. It's getting really frustrating. I like it when it just works, and sometimes the plugins just like don't work. And I wish it like at least said like an error, like error, the plugin broke. But no, it just doesn't work and doesn't tell you. So that's what happens. Anyway, it should be fixed now. It should be totally fixed. But yeah, we were just talking about mud and that truck slipping. Nobody missed much. Okay, so so over the weekend, we've had so much. There have been so many things that have happened. Um, Let me scroll up on my map, and I'm just gonna open everything. Okay, so I don't know where do you even start? Where do we start, Constantine? Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the what's happened, what has been happening in Russia, if you have that.
In Russia. Well, you can say what you mean, and then I'm setting this up so our other guest can come.
No, I was expecting you
We'll just
to
talk.
go over.
Okay. Okay, he should be able to come now.
He's in the chat. I can see him.
Yes. Okay. So so in Russia, you want to talk about Russia first? Okay. So this over the past 2 days, there have been multiple train attacks. Um, so the first one. What was the first one? I can't remember. Was this the first one? Or was this? This was the first one. Okay. So the first one was over here. So all of the train stuff have been on this kind of this rail line that kind of goes like this. But anyways, so the first one was somewhere in this forest. I never like geolocated it, so I don't know exactly where it was, but it was if I remember right, it was somewhere between this town and this town in this forest, I think.
What
Um,
happened in
so,
more detail? Do you know?
what happened in more detail is that the train had it had a bomb go off, from what I understand, and it damaged the rail, and it caused a derailment of the train.
Nice. So,
Uh,
was it like a train? What was it carrying?
I don't remember what it was carrying. I don't remember.
I saw pictures of the tanks, like 60, that carry 60 tons of oil products. Like each of the tanker carrying 60
Yeah,
tons of
there's.
oil products.
I know the one today was carrying oil, but I don't remember what the one yesterday was carrying. The one today was actually very similar in that I actually have a photograph of it somewhere. Oh, War Santa's here. Hi, War Santa.
Hey everyone,
Well,
can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay. So yeah. Anyway, War Santa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh boy, put me on the spot. Hey everyone.
You don't have to
Uh,
like go to depth. You say hi.
yeah. Hi everyone, guys. Yeah, I go by War Santa, which is actually about taking cowboy boots to one of our guys that was wounded. Um, but 10 years Air Force intelligence. I Global Hawk operations, U2 operations, deployed with the assets, redeployments to the Middle East. Did it for 10 years. I also did collection management for all of Hurricane Harvey. So I've done some things. Have a pretty in-depth knowledge on a lot of things Air Force related, and I've been kind of utilizing that for logistics and equipment for Ukraine. I've taken close to $200,000 worth of equipment that I've carried um, into the country, and then five of us created our organization, the Victory Team. I'll be on the Mirror Report tomorrow talking about that, but I started that because of my college best friend who actually stole my old dog from him. He was out there, moved to Kiev, and was fine in the beginning, and it was one of these hold my beer things. I'm going to get you body armor and everything else for your guys, and it kicked off what's now entire new organization.
Nice.
So
So
is that a nutshell?
yep,
Good.
that covers it, I think. So we're talking right now about the events in Russia over the past few days,
Hmm.
namely the train derailments.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So this is the one from today. This is the video of this was fuel. I know the one today was fuel. The one yesterday, I can't remember. I don't think it was fuel yesterday, but I can't remember what it was. But this today, there was an explosion on the rail that derailed, I think, six of the train cars, and 20 more were damaged in one way or another. So all in total, it was like 20 or 26 train cars were affected by this
Nice.
derailment. Now I don't know how long it takes to fix up these trains. I imagine it doesn't take that long to fix the derailment. But more to the point is that there have been multiple. There was a another report today or yesterday actually. There was another report. Actually, I can't remember if it was today or yesterday. It all runs together. But a rail worker near a station noticed something weird about the rail. This is so they say. This is coming from like Russian media, so can't take it with a grain of salt. But he noticed something weird about the rail. He inspected it. He found that there was a quote tunnel under the rail. I don't know what tunnel means. I don't know if that means like, I imagine it's just like a little hole, like maybe something you could put a bomb in. I don't know, but he reported a tunnel. The police came. They closed the track for a while. They repaired it, and that was it. So there were 2 train derailments. That weird report, and then in addition to this, there was an electrical transmission tower was blown up and collapsed. So those are kind of 4 things in this general region that have happened over the past 48 hours. The Russians aren't too happy about that. I have no clue who is doing these things. If I were to guess, I would guess Ukraine, but I don't know. And that tunnel one, I don't even know if that's real. And obviously, the train things are real, and the tower.
I don't think
is
that's real. I don't know if you, but I don't know about Russian to Ukraine train lines. If it's the same, in terms of the, I don't know if it's the physics of it or whatever call it. I'm just gonna point it as the physics of train derailment, but you have to take out a decent amount of part of that track, and you can't just take out a foot or 5 feet. The U.S. military has done a lot of work on exactly how many inches you need to actually take out in terms of like one part of the rail of to actually get a derailment. So if it's just like a little bit, that train will actually skip the gap. I watched actually quite a few videos. One of our guys was actually showing me the video, an older video of U.S. military running trains over some tracks and constantly removing even more and more of a part of a track. And is the train going to actually jump on it, or is it going to skip it, or is it just going to go off? And it's surprising how much track you have to remove to actually get a derailment. I'll try to find that video for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that video, and I agree. It does take a bunch, but obviously they have been able to successfully derail trains. Because so obviously someone knows what they're doing, and I don't. It might be a confluence of events. I don't know. Like there could be more going on. It could be that maybe they're also sabotaging like the relays or some sort of thing that is making the train more vulnerable to derailment. So maybe there's more than one thing going on. I don't actually know. I'm not an expert in making trains derail. But what they do, they have been successfully derailing trains, and 2 of them in the past 48 hours is not too bad.
I will tell you that it also depends on if the train is loaded, if the quality of the полотно, I don't know, the rail itself. I don't mean the rail itself. I mean the quality of the of entire railroad there. If there is a turn right now or not, because I serve. I did not serve. I worked at one of the factories in Ukraine, and we had our own branch of rail branch, and it was not so well maintained, and we had derailments without any saboteurs happening every month or so. So there are a lot of factors when you talk about the derailment. So just have to take them all to account. And I guess those saboteurs, they would be able to find the right sweet spot where and when to do it.
Yeah, I mean, also we have seen long range attacks inside of Russia. That stuff requires a lot more intelligence gathering, and so I mean, the easiest way is to read between the lines that there are guys out there that are looking for very specific targets. And I mean, I think a train derailment's an easy guess that that's an easier soft target. Back when I used to do back whenever I was stationed in Germany, my big focus was more of the force protection stuff. You look for your hard targets, your soft targets, but you train a lot in terms of how the enemy wants to attack your base. but your people in general, the kids that are out there, it's easier if to hit the families than anything, hitting the soft targets. And so we study a lot of that. And you're looking at a train taking, oil or taking whatever. That's a soft target. You can hit that almost anywhere. Um, so I'm pretty excited whenever I was seeing those uh, the news articles about that coming out. I was pretty excited that there's more. It seems like there's more people out there in Russia able to do interdiction and other things behind the lines.
Yeah, and we don't even really necessarily know who these people are. I mean, whether they are working for Ukraine or if there's some sort of somebody else, we don't know. Whether it's a different country doing it or if it's Russians doing it or Ukraine, we have no idea. So it's all kind of a mystery.
Well, I have hopes that it's Ukraine doing it. I think that's a huge win if they're able to pull this off. I think it shows quite an expanse in their capabilities. My fingers are crossed.
Yeah. So other news in Russia over the past few days. There have been some minor drone attacks. Today, Ukraine dropped a drone on this little town in Russia and apparently wounded a Russian, and the Russians are very upset about that. But anyways, I don't know what else to say about Russian news. I think I'm out of Russian news. Do you have any more Russian news, Constantine?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, so I guess we could go to the Crimea. Over the past few days, there were first there's the drone strike on this oil facility in Sevastopol, where Ukraine successfully destroyed, I believe, these four oil things. I never know what these are called. Was it an oil tank? Is that what it's called? Anyway, so they destroyed four of those.
I think so.
Destroying four, I think, was kind of a disappointment for some people. They're kind of aiming for maybe all of them, but four's not bad. It's like a third of them or something. It caused a very large fire that Russia happened to put out pretty quickly. Other than that, today there was an explosion reported in kind of downtown Sevastopol, which was weird. And almost simultaneously, there's another explosion over near this old slash current training base where they train airborne or something. I don't remember what they train here, but they train kind of some sort of specialist infantry, and it exploded and it made a big fire. So I don't know what to make of two almost simultaneous explosions in Crimea. Whether it's a coincidence or what is kind of weird. I don't know. What do you think?
I'll give my thoughts here in a split second.
Okay.
I think that's quite quite planned, and
Sorry, we're going back
that's
over
why
some
they're
of my-
simultaneous.
Go ahead. I apologize.
I think this is planned. That you have right now we're launching UAVs for this a lot, and this is not that hard to sync it. I mean, synchronize those, and I think it's quite obvious that it's done by by one group of people working together.
Yeah. Also, earlier in the day today, so these happened like in the afternoon sometime. I'm not sure exactly what time it was, but it was like in the afternoon. In the morning, there was active air defense in the southwestern part of Crimea. Not really sure what that was about. And also, later in the day, after these explosions, there was air defense active in the western part of Ukraine, of Crimea. I don't know if I meant southeastern before. I don't know. I think I said southwestern. But anyways, so So these are all kind of events happening in Crimea. I don't really know what any of them mean. It's just kind of data, really. Um,
Well, it's often some of the former officers, U.S. officers that do a lot of stuff in Ukraine as volunteers. We were talking, and we're kind of poking and prodding in terms of the same thing that we're doing here. We kind of think that this is a little bit of a run up to the counteroffensive, um, and that we're going to see a lot more degradation in terms of uh, if you okay, it's basic Western modern, I would say modern warfare, and just Western style. It's you want to lengthen and make their supply line a lot harder prior to any type of offensive, and you know the amount of HIMARS used in other type of attacks that were used in the first counteroffensive kind of demonstrated about how to push back a supply line, um, and lengthen that time that it took. Because I think the time to actually supply the Russians originally, that there was about 9 hours in terms of actually getting the or 6 hours getting the equipment to them. Now, hold on one second. Sorry, I got to close my door. But now I think it's. Hold on one second.
okay. um, yeah.
Apologize for that. I apologize.
Okay.
My dog was barking and my girlfriend started yelling at her. But oh, when you start the number one thing, I don't know the best way of saying it without going to like a 30-minute spiel, but um, one of the best ways to have a successful counteroffensive is always to talk about, or is always to consider as the number one priority, the enemy's logistics. So logistics are literally everything. U.S. military used to have logistics as an entire command, for the U.S. military, just how we have the Space Command, EUCOM, AFRICOM, and so forth. And so the way that Ukraine really did a great job of hitting the logistics was phenomenal. Now you're looking at this upcoming counteroffensive. You're looking at the front lines. There's holes in those front lines, and logistics are starting to get hit again. And so I think that this really is about changing the way the Russians can conduct warfare in a way that is going to be beneficial for Ukraine to truly have a successful counteroffensive. I've read a few things. I can't remember which U.S. general was talking about it, but the reason that one of the main reasons that Ukraine really did slow down their last counteroffensive primarily actually came down to logistics, because they were going to get too stretched. That from my guys on the ground that are dealing, I'm not going to say exactly where they are. Those logistics hubs that they are in are pretty sound now, pretty built up. So, I think that we're about to see something pretty decent. And I think that the gains that you're seeing right now is an indicator that Russia's having to try to change already, trying to get ahead of this. The last time, if we you always have to, the way that we always talked about this in intelligence, you always have to never underestimate your enemy, but understand that your enemy also changes their tactics, techniques, and procedures, and that they also are constantly learning. They have, they're like basically what we call a hot wash, where they sit there and like, okay, what the fuck went wrong, and how can we not do this again? Well, obviously, they're going to learn from their last counteroffensive a certain level of degree. And I think that's being taken in consideration. I think that they're changing the battlefield in the best way, but knowing that they can't do it exactly the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And people in the comments are talking about that Kharkiv. I agree that it was logistics that held back Ukraine from going further, but it wasn't only moving supplies around. I think it was also just they didn't have enough guys. The guys were exhausted. Like they needed they couldn't go any further. They
Well,
needed
I can tell you why it happened because I have people there, and like we pushed as much as we could, not because we weren't run out of logistics. It was just a wall that we have hit. Russia managed to build defense lines, build proper defensive positions, both in Kremina, both in around Svatova, and we just at some point we just couldn't do it. We did not have enough mechanized forces to sustain to keep pushing. I don't remember that logistics were a problem at any moment, but we had definitely issues with simply we went in. I know we went into a couple of villages to try to get closer to Svatova. We had a couple of really bad encounters. If I'm talking about one of the battalions I worked with, they had to pull back. Another guys came in, same happened. So the pace was slowed down because like that's where they started fighting back. In Kremina, I know that our artillery they started using Lancet really heavily, and we started losing a lot of our artillery pieces and could not provide enough artillery support. Even though we had the ammunition, was not the biggest problem back at that point. After that, once again in Kremina, they pulled out some of their I would say I don't know if you can call it elite forces, but they used a lot of their units that had their more modern kit like T90s, sorry, T80s. And we pushed up to the Kremina, but going in we just couldn't. It was never a logistics issue there. At least that's what I heard from the people I speak with. Of course, you may have some other information about that, but it was never, from what I heard, a logistics problem. But logistics are of course needed. It's not, especially for the country such as big as Russia, where they pull in the forces from really far regions. And they have much better line around, like Ukraine fighting internally, so we have shorter logistic lines. Russians are fighting on external, like if you see the stretch for them, it's much bigger than it's for Ukraine when you're defending in this.
Right. Right. I think that's one of the big things that at the end of the day, what might win this is the fact that Russia's having to push back. Their base is so far away from HIMARS and other things like that. If we do give them I can never say the acronym, but the bomb, the ATACMs, that's going to be a big giant help to where it can push us even farther. Because one of the things I don't think that a lot of people know in terms of what's being given to Ukraine, but you guys are pretty familiar with the Global Hawk flying out there, correct?
yeah. It's like over here somewhere.
So yeah, so that's my
And could you elaborate what global Hawk is for people who are here not that familiar?
So the Global Hawk is the highest unmanned SR asset that well, I wouldn't say it's the highest anymore, but it used to be. It was meant to replace the U-2 Dragon Lady. And it flies, I would say unclassified is probably posting that it's flying at 65,000 feet. You start skipping off the atmosphere when you go higher than that. But
yeah, that's so high that I don't think Russia can even shoot it down easily. Anyway,
you could. There's a way that you can, but it's still like it's still an act of God, and I don't think they have the radar systems and their interceptor aircraft to actually truly hit it properly. But anyways, they're flying it, but they're also flying in international waters. But that aircraft can see pretty dang far when you're that high up. So we pretty much, and that's just using that type of satellite. That type of asset. But there's still national satellites that are constantly combing through Ukraine and can actually sit there and spot and see exactly where these bases are or where the stockpiles are, or, this seems to be a hot area where a lot of vehicles are dropping off and leaving. Um, and so, now what you have to do in terms of stretching out the enemy's logistics line is you have to have the ability to hit it. And that's one of the best things that Ukraine's got going for them is, it really has Russia has taken a beating on that logistics line. It looks like we might be able to get to the point where we can extend it. You're seeing drones out of Australia and other places that could do some serious long range targeteering, and so the more that we consistently see in the news, oh, there's a base hit over here, oh, there's a base hit, and you're looking, okay, that's 50, 80 kilometers away. That's doing like huge service to Ukraine to push back that logistics line. If that makes any sense, I think it's just kind of very helpful for our people to understand. When they're making sense of, we see there's a post that says, oh, there's a base over here or a ammo depot over here that was blown or huge explosion blown up. And you're looking, you go and your Google Maps and you're looking, you're like, that's pretty far away. Why does this matter? Oh, this matters pretty substantially because it was a successful hit deep behind enemy lines, and the enemy knows that's too close, or yada yada yada. We need to move this back.
Yeah.
And for the guys in the trenches, guys on the front lines, there's going to be holes and there's porous. There are porous parts on the front line, especially around Kherson. But here now you have guys on the ground that are not going to be able to get the proper artillery support that they need to counter the Ukrainians, which is a blessing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there's I like, man, if Ukraine had longer range weapons, it would be so devastating. Because there's more targets than like Ukraine knows where stuff is. Let's just put it that way. They know where stuff is, and they just can't hit it because it's too far. Man, I'd love so badly for them to get a longer range weapon.
How much range do you think Ukraine needs right now? Well, of course, as long as possible. But
all of it.
Let's make an incremental step. Would be a next one that would be able to make a difference.
If you could hit like, I don't know, like 100 miles, that would probably be what you need. 110 miles, something like that. Not even 110, like 100 miles. I think that would be good enough. What is that in kilometers? I don't know.
100 many? How 100? How much?
100 and like 160.
160. That's around 280 kilometers.
No, 160 kilometers.
Oh, that's exactly 100 miles.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be pretty substantial. But I think one of the biggest things, I mean, I don't know how to say it, but this war has really changed warfare in general. In the beginning, and I can tell this from talking to some of my active duty friends and people that I went through tech school with and everything else. Now they're all in leadership positions. That they've ranked up. And when this war kicked off, we're sitting here like, wow, we overtrained, because especially with the Air Force, you train on Russian doctrine, counter Russian doctrine, right? Because that's what they pass on to other countries, and not just proliferating their equipment. It's the doctrine how to utilize it, right? And so, but at first it was like, holy crap, this is it. We're watching this quote unquote amazing country that we've spent how many years of our lives dedicated to defeating, and it's looking like it's child's play. Well, all of a sudden now we're looking at the ingenuity of in terms of the Ukrainians and on the Russian side, and it gets pretty scary out there. If Ukraine learns to target tier a little bit better, something that the Air Force is phenomenal at. The U.S. Air Force, sorry, is phenomenal. Is actually how to target and hit your targets with whatever asset. If they can learn how to do that with the cheaper equipment, I mean, this has changed the face of warfare. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the cardboard drone that's out of Australia that can actually hit targets pretty far away. And you're looking at this little thing and you're like, it doesn't take much to make a successful hit. And and the more and more that the commercial side is meeting the needs for the Ukraine and is changing, is slowly changing the outcome on the front lines. There's a whole nother part of this where it's changing the outcomes, or not changing outcomes, but changing the mindsets of Western countries that are like, oh crap, we can get this little hobby drone, we can put an RPG-7, and we can a tank can get destroyed, or they can refit the RPG-7, which is a explosively formed penetrator. If they can change that, you can make these drones even more dangerous. And then you can change the targeteering and start getting these things longer flight times and everything else. This is going to be a game changer for modern warfare. One of the things that I did was involved in was the Libyan Revolution, and back in 2011, and so I did a lot of the battle damage assessment with the Global Hawk and with the YouTube platforms, but primarily Global Hawk. And you'd be surprised, it doesn't take much to ruin some equipment and to render a unit ineffective. Libya took us a day and a half to render that standing military completely ineffective. So I think that Ukraine's got a lot of things going for it. I think that there's going to be a turning point. And I think that we're starting to see some of the more amazing ways to meet the gap on the commercial side. I don't know. I'm kind of excited about the changes of it. Sorry to go on a rant. Apologize.
So we have some questions for you about the Global Hawk, and also not just the Global Hawk, just like all of the intelligence assets that are being used, because there's a lot of stuff. They're just curious if you can talk about in like, not getting into like classified stuff, obviously, just like
I mean, I'm not going to spill anything,
but just like generally, what are the basic capabilities of these things? Like what are they doing? Like what's their purpose?
So I mean, generally, if you actually look up the Global Hawk, you'll get the generic rundown. But realistically, okay, hold on. Versus telling everyone exactly what we could do. We can pick up anything from communications, hotspots in terms of radio communications. We can pick up, so there's multiple different sensors that are on there that it can be fitted on there, like the RAS2, RAS2, and then some of the EO packages, basically a big giant digital camera. This is the best way of saying EO. But the Global Hawk can really pinpoint and see different types of imagery that is radar based, right? So multi-spectrum. In the civilian world, if you look out there and you see these commercial drones that are focused on farms, right? It's looking for irrigation's not properly working. Maybe there's infestation of, I don't know, crickets. I don't know whatever it is, but it can sense that. It can see these different things and say, okay, we need to focus some pesticides over here, or we need to get more water over here, and so forth and so forth, whatever. You're seeing that multi-spectrum used in agriculture. Think of that to the highest degree imagine possible. The Global Hawk can do quite a bit of that multi-spectrum. We can tell different materials that are on the ground, and that's going to be able to give you the shape of a tank. It's going to give you the shape of bomb making material. It's going to give the shape of saturated water, so forth, so forth, so forth. It could see, good lord, defensive positions. Great one. A disturbed Earth. The more that it flies the same route, if you ever see a global hawk fly the same route, we're going to look for the differences in the imagery. It's simple, and there's just obviously programs that can sit there and do overlays, right? That can sit here and say, okay, this is everything that's different, and why. This isn't full. This isn't stuff that you see in movies where it's oh, here's this like thing zooming in like super close, and it's seeing this guy on a cell phone, and all of a sudden you can hear him talk. Complete horseshit. Um, this is still imagery. Can get very very detailed. Also, sometimes it's not very detailed, but you can basically you can cut an image apart, and when this image has been created by protons bouncing back and forth, um, in your flying, right? So you take a still image, but you're flying. So no matter what, that image is going to bounce back a little weird. Think about running with the camera and then snapping it. You're going to get distortion. Well, that distortion, see the things like power lines, can see different lines of actual communication that you need to sever and so forth, or you need to land things, or this might be a hub for just the enemy's communication and so forth. There's so many different things that can truly do. And then we package this out, and then it's more likely it's like secret rel to Five Eyes, and then UKR or UA or something like that. And they're able to create target packages and use the HIMARS to attack that. I'm pretty sure that we're more integrated in working with that, and that's actually my old unit. So kind of cool that I know exactly where those are and those people are, and I used to do that stuff. So to me, it's been like a woohoo. Global Hawk. Global Hawk is also the ISR platform that leads the way. Since it's unmanned and has the most amount of sensors on there and can be outfitted in terms of the target package, that's why we use it for the Libyan Revolution. Fukushima happened. We were flying the Global Hawk 24/7 because we can obviously see the different temperatures and so forth with multi-spectrum and some extra stuff on that. So I was involved in the Fukushima because they all happened at the same time. Also, when you think about like Osama bin Laden, I didn't know that whenever we were running some of our missions, I'm like, okay, I'm being shut off from national, which we call national, which would be like the agencies. They'd shut our feed down, but then our bird is flying in, Pakistan and so forth. That's an aircraft that we can afford to be blown out of the sky, or to get ruined by radiation, so forth, so forth. But we put that one in the dangerous spots, and that's what we use the Global Hawk for. It's an interesting bird. People call it the global chicken because it's not armed, but that thing is a serious ISR platform.
Honestly, it looks like a flying whale.
What?
It looks like a flying whale to me.
Those things are big. People don't understand that the wingspan on a Global Hawk is huge.
How much does the one cost?
Oh God, I don't even know.
Like 90 millions, probably.
Global Hawk cost. It's up there. Maybe it's not. Block 40. The base model was 99 million. Oh, okay, so about 120 million. That's about right.
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, and probably operating it is super expensive as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's something that people can't necessarily. Actually, this ties into something that's really relevant, and I'll speak on it too. The whole what was that guy's name? Textera, whatever the guy that's leaking all
was it Jack Teixeira?
Yeah, that douche. He worked at DCGS. DCGS is where all the feeds for our Global Hawk U2, Predators, Reapers, RQ 170 Sentinel, and so forth. So the DCGSs used to, whenever I was in the military, on active duty in the beginning, there was only two DGCSs. There's the one at Langley and there's the one at Beale Air Force Base, my old unit. And all the feeds are pumped through a DCGS. The DCGS, having a DCGS, if Ukraine knew how to build out a poor man, I call it the poor man's DCGS. It's like my pipe dream of what I wish Ukraine would have. If they could, if you have you have to have a DCGS to truly operate any air asset and utilize any intelligence asset to truly I would say manipulate the battlefield the way that you need it, for mission planning and for strategy and so forth for the commanders. That right there, having one of those is expensive. Okay, very expensive. I don't even know if that's public information. You're talking like 400 or so intelligence analysts from all different branches, along with various different agencies that are constantly in those DCGSs. Those DCGSs truly run the wars in terms of intelligence to the commanders who are making decisions. Now there's like a DCGS everywhere. They've been putting them with the National Guards. It's been a little bit cheaper to do that. I was gonna. I've worked at Beale Air Force Base, but I was with the actual U2 squadron in Globok Squadron, the 9th OG. But I was also a part of DCGS 2 whenever they needed extra bodies. The guy that was leaking all that information, when you're working at DCGS, you're primarily working on JWICs, the top secret. If you think about internets, think of it as like there's three. There's your Hypernet, SIPRNet, JWICs. And when you're in a DCGS, you're typically read into seeing all the different intelligence that's going on, just like what this guy saw. And he leaked out there for quite a bit of time because he was tied into a DCGS. Every intelligence analyst for the Air Force has to have the clearances to be able to actually work in a DCGS. If you're not, if for some reason you're not going to be cleared at the highest level, you're not going to be in U.S. Air Force intelligence analyst. You might be in the Army, but you won't make it in the Air Force. That's a big thing that separates the Air Force, I think, from the other services, is that we handle a lot more classified information than most, and I think it's primarily because of the assets that we work with.
Okay, so we have another question about the Global Hawk. Roughly, what is the range of its sensors?
Ooh, that one would be classified, but I will tell you that it's not hitting the top northeast part of the occupied area.
Okay.
But we have other assets that can do that. They're just not going to be as robust. And when they're not as robust, I think this is going to help other people understand this. Global Hawk can see through clouds. Satellites don't necessarily have the ability to see through clouds, depending on what sensors they have on them. But primarily, you're going to be limited by cloud cover.
Yep, tell me about it. It's really annoying. But anyway, I swear to God, like in Ukraine, like in winter, you're just blind. You can't see anything. I guess that's winter everywhere, isn't it? But you just can't see anything in winter. It's just always cloudy. It's terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Anyways, I don't know. Someone was asking about those glide bombs for like the Gimler glide bombs. I always forget what they're called. I always forget the algorithm.
That's what I couldn't say earlier.
I don't know how those work. I don't know if they do work. They work on paper. I know that. And I know they've had some test shots, but they've never been used in like real war before. So I don't know if they are going to work. But I think in theory, they could hit some of these targets. But I think Some of these targets, especially the ones in the rear, I think you really need a big weapon because these are kind of bigger things in general. It's things like repair depots where where they're just repairing all the broken tanks and stuff. Things like that where I don't think you can take it out with just a 100 kilogram warhead. I think it's going to take a little bit more than that. It's probably going to take multiple hits. I don't know.
There's different levels of so the way that whenever we're going through any type of targeteering, it's like one of the most basic. In every Air Force intel guy actually goes through a certain level of targeteering, at least to get your beak wet. You always need to match the target with the correct weapon that to get the desired effect that you want, kinetic effect, right? But it also depends on the strategy. So we're talking about things in the rear, but one of the things we haven't talked about is the number one thing that's killing guys out there is counter artillery radar systems. It's being able to actually have the right imagery analysts or people out there that are seeing these feeds that says, okay, where is this? Can we geolocate this? Can we strap on you could some of these radar systems that Russia has, you could drop a paint can on them or paint on those things. It will ruin the entire thing. Okay. Or a 12 kilogram warhead will destroy some of these radar systems. If you hit them right, it's and by the way, that is a true thing about throwing paint on a radar system. It's certain types of radar systems, electronic warfare specifically. If you painted a different color, the thing was not going to work anymore. Lead-based paint. Don't let your kids eat it. Put it on an artillery radar system or an early warning system for Russia. But one of the things that it would be great if Ukraine could actually get better at is hitting the right targets and for your strategy. And one of the big frustrations that for some of the special friends that I have, and I'll leave it as that, it's that the Switchblade 300s, they were blowing up tanks. They shouldn't have been blowing up tanks. They should have been hitting counter artillery radar systems, electronic warfare systems, and using javelins and other things to hit tanks. So you want to match with the right weapon, your target, match your target with the right weapon system. But it also needs to be per your strategy, and that has not really fully been implemented. I think now they're getting better, but there's a lot still to be done on the front line, and you're gonna have an amazing effect. I think one of the and actually, sorry I'm scanning through it while I'm talking. I'm scanning through my memory of like a lot of the units that I supported in Ukraine, and it reminds me of one of the SIGINT units out there. I'm not gonna say who, but like they were pretty instrumental in their area that they were operating in, and had a phenomenal commander. That guy was a genius. But they had to. It was a SIGINT unit. They were tasked with trying to find these counter artillery radar systems. They were tasked with the early warning systems, trying to counter those guys, and at the same time trying to pick up and triangulate, where the command posts are, based off the chatter and so forth. They were having to, whenever they would find a piece of destroyed Russian early warning systems or whatever different sensors that they would find for vehicles, they were having to fix the old things that are blown out, that are burnt to a crisp, and create their own equipment. This is, and it's one of those things that donors don't understand it. People, civilians don't understand it, but in terms of intelligence, in terms of making a difference on the battlefield, that unit's like very key. And I think that there needs to be a big focus on boosting up the SIGINT units in Ukraine. Of course, things could have changed since the last 6 months. It's like 9 months since I've seen them, but that's a huge area that they can be boosted up. There's a lot of equipment in Turkey and in Europe that could actually booster those guys up, where they're not having to re-engineer a lot of this broken Russian equipment. And then you can hit them with the right ordnance. Um, and that's one of the things that like really wish that people understood. It's not just about blowing up tanks or overthrowing the trenches. It's really about degrading your enemy, taking away the tools in their tool shed that are working against you. Sorry to go on that tangent.
Yeah, I know that this year, basically since January, Ukraine has focused very heavily on targeting radars and electronic warfare antennas and machinery of basically every sort. Like basically since January, Ukraine has been just on a rampage taking out radars and electronic warfare. And a few people are asking about the like where these radars might be, and I happen to have geolocated a few radars, so I'm going to show you where they were in a second. But I'm clearing my map first, so it's easier to see. Okay, so for example, south of Bakhmut, there are these trenches here, just north of Klashivka. Russia had counter battery radars set up around this trench right here next to these trees. So it was like right here. So that kind of tells you how far away they might be. Another example of of electronic warfare, there was in one of these bushes right here. I can't remember which bush, but there was electronic warfare in this bush right here. So so this is kind of the distance some of their radars are. Obviously, they have all sorts of different types of radars, different types of electronic warfares, all sorts of different things, different ranges, different capabilities. But these are examples of things that you could target with a Switchblade 300 pretty easily.
They're getting the 600s, I believe, out there now. The 600s they're able to program them a lot better. You actually hit those. So
yeah, these in particular, I believe they were taken out by 120 millimeter mortars. I think. I'm not sure exactly, but I think that's what it was. It was filmed by Adam. So Adam put out a few videos of them taking out this equipment in this general area.
Yeah.
And
that's really close to the front.
It sure is. Another example that I've geolocated in the past, there was in this building right here. There was a counter battery radar like sticking out the window. Like I don't know why, it was kind of a weird place, but it was like sticking out the window, like pointing north. And Ukraine took it out with an ATGM. I don't. It is a weird situation, but that's the thing that happened. So I'm just trying to point out that just because these are radars doesn't mean they're not really close to the front line. Because sometimes they are. It entirely depends on the radar. And then there was more recently, like last week, I think, by the dam over here, in the building that I can't find for some reason. But anyways, by the dam over here, there's a big like tower. Oh, it's right here. This tower right here in the top left window, right there. There was an electronic warfare device in the window that Ukraine took out with one of their little suicide drones. They flew it in the window and blew it up. So these are just some examples of things that you could take out with a Switchblade 300. That's probably better targets than a tank. All within the Switchblade's range, easily. So
yeah, I mean, and those things are one of the things that I wish that, and I don't know, there might be a gap in my knowledge on this, but autonomous drones. A lot of people are out there and they're like, we need a new Mavic, this and that, and so forth. Well, you know, a the Russian version of our P3 could be flying by and knock out quite a bit of the drones that are in the air. I mean, I think the average, and Constantine, you can probably speak on this one for sure. There's a very short lifespan for a lot of these drones that are being donated out there, but having a drone where you can actually protect yourself against electronic warfare is very key, and autonomous drones will offer you that. Now, you might lose your feed, but whenever they land about an hour later or 2 hours later, you're going to have a really good feed and be able to see these positions that you're bringing up. But those type of drones are more expensive, and I'm thinking of one that I've kind of been looking at. I've been in talks with the company. It's the Delta Quad. And it's anyways, long story on that. But
how much Delta Quad charge? Like how much is that drone?
There's two versions. One is like 28,000, I believe, with the package that helps against the electronic warfare. But the brand new, which has actually got a dual bay sensors. They can basically carry two sensors. That one's for about 120,000. They just did a demo outside of Kyiv that one of our guys went to. But that thing has got survivability. It will last. And you're going to be in the Russians can't knock it out of the sky unless for some reason it's given too much of a heat signature for an IR missile to actually hit it. But point being is autonomous drones should really be a big focus, and it'd be a focus on an ISR mission versus this is something you don't want to strap a grenade to. You don't want to kill that one guy. What you want is a real or close to real time view of a large sector of the battlefield to be able to act on it. And that's something and again, I might have a lack of understanding of what's being done right now with those. It might be above my pay grade, which is 0. I'm a volunteer, but that is a huge thing that I hope is going on. But if not, that should be a really big focus for some people.
Yep. People in the chat are talking about paint grenades now. So
might as well just use a real grenade if you're gonna drop a paint grenade, though. But
yeah, the paint grenade is more fun.
It was just a funny thing that I had learned. Probably about a year ago. That we figured this out because the U.S. military accidentally repainted some stuff of ours and completely ruined it. And it was like, wait a minute, lead-based paint ruins any of these sensors, and then we figured out, oh shit, it ruins everything. So yeah, but yeah, we don't need to be blasting anything pink or blue and yellow. Blow it up.
All right. So just getting back to the news. I was all right, we're still on partisan news, but this is the last partisan news item that I have. This morning there was an attempted assassination of somebody. I forgot. I forgot what he is. He's like some like stupid like lieutenant deputy something or other. He's the deputy head of the Department of Internal Affairs for the Zaporozhye region. So anyway, there was an attempted assassination on him today. I have a little video of it. Obviously, it's not of the assassination, but it is. I have to figure out how to play it. Anyway, it's like just showing his like little house after the attempt. I don't believe he died. I don't know if he was even wounded, but this is kind of the result of his attempted assassination. But anyways, so that's the kind of the end of the partisan news that I have. I guess I can get into the deep strike news, which isn't too different to be honest. Well, first off, there was the big Russian attack the other day when they sent their first, what was it, 23 cruise missiles, and then secondly like 18 more or whatever. And on that night, I don't know what weapon this was, but they hit Pavlograd, and they hit it somewhere over here, and they blew up a their chemical lab that was presumably storing old intercontinental ballistic missile boosters, and this caused a rather large explosion that caused a lot of damage. There's now satellite imagery of this location proving that it was in fact the chemical lab that exploded and not the train as the Russians were lying about. This same night,
What, sorry, not the train?
well, the Russians they're saying that they hit the train.
Oh,
They
gotcha.
said they hit a
Yeah,
train full
did not
of.
listen to what Russians were saying.
They said they hit a train full of like Ukrainian equipment. They that this this rail junction that it's like super important rail junction, but they didn't. They hit the lab over there. The same night, and I don't know if this is related to the lab exploding or if it was part of the same attack, or if it was a different attack. I don't know. There's so little detail about this, but this school right here was hit by a rocket, which was weird. Considering how far it is, like relatively far. What is this? I don't know, like 5 kilometers or something. And then this town, Verbke or whatever, however you say this, this suffered, I believe, 40 houses were destroyed, and that makes more sense if it were destroyed by the explosion. I don't know. It's really hard to tell. And then this town up here was also hit by something. It seems a little too far away for the explosion. So they were hit. So this whole area was hit, which makes me wonder what was going on here. I don't know. I don't know even what hit them. I've seen no news about what hit this area. It's pretty far. Like especially the northern one is. It's pretty far. We're talking like 150 kilometers or something like that to this northern point. I don't know what weapon this was. I don't know if this was a cruise missile. This happened before the cruise missiles were launched, from what I could tell. It could have been Shaheeds, but then they said this school was hit by a rocket. I just don't know. I don't know what hit them. But anyways, so that all happened. Dnipro got hit by missiles, and tonight Zaporizhia got hit by S-300s. Kramatorsk got hit yesterday night, and this other town got hit. I think, and a school got hit. So these are all kind of the deep strikes, and these other strikes were from a few days prior. I don't know if I talk about it. In this northern part of Chernihiv. And I just want to state this one point first. Russia is launching 20 guided bombs a day on average. That's the kind of the official number is 20 a day. I've heard also 30 a day, somewhere between 20 and 30, presumably. And I just want to point out how many just random little towns they're hitting in Chernihiv, because each of these is like represents multiple bombs. Like it's like each of these bomb markers they usually launch 2 at a time. So this is just over the past, I think, 3 days. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that they've launched. In the past 3 days, they've presumably launched around 60 bombs, or maybe 90, and about 20 of them are in these random tiny towns and there's one over here too. So like 20 of them are up here. So like 1/3 of all the bombs they're launching are into these random towns. I don't know what the targets are. I don't know why. Similarly, down here, west of Kherson, they've also been targeting all of this kind of area near the Dnipro River, which makes more sense. These at least are military targets. This area over here, which is, I believe it was a campground of some sort of area where you go for like summer trips or something. Anyway, so apparently Ukraine has been using this to launch all sorts of raids or whatever in towards the Dnipro. Supposedly, anyway, this is what the Russians are saying. But they've been heavily bombing this kind of little area here. Similarly, they've been bombing this kind of little area here. I'm not really sure what this is. It just looks like a few houses to me. But apparently, a number of people were wounded there today, getting hit by bombs. And Bill Ozerka up here is also getting hit by bombs. So just keeping in mind that they launch 20 to 30 a day, and like a third of them are up near Chernihiv, and probably another third of them are into Bakhmut. So I can't make sense of the Chernihiv bombings, but it's just a thing that's going on. I don't know. Uh, did you have any ideas why they're just bombing random towns in Chernihiv?
I mean, I still don't see the point of them hitting hospitals. So
Yeah, and most of these places in Chernihiv are schools. Like in this little tiny town, they bombed a school and killed a 14-year-old boy. Um, in Leonivka, this is like a town of like 20 or 30 houses, and they've dropped like 8 bombs on it. I don't know why. Like it makes no sense to me.
It's
And
it's usually poor intelligence. That's what they have. They have some some idiotic uh, intelligence telling them, just strike here. There are some forces. They don't check. They just do it because they can. It's combination of those. That's my take on it, but it's hard to make sense indeed, because I've been seeing so many, like my house, my brother's in manufacturing base was just hit with missiles, and they don't do anything, and they have other like textile, manufacturing facilities. They do it all the time everywhere, and it makes no sense, not from a military standpoint, not from terrorizing standpoint. I think it's just for me, I think, and I this is what I came up with other people who I spoke with. It's just a poor intelligence that they have. They someone gets angry and has an ammunition and says, okay, let's strike, let's hit something. Someone asks, okay, what are we gonna hit? Well, let's look at the map and find something, find targets. They look at the map that has no, something like Google Map. And think, okay, the troops are probably going to be there. Okay, let's strike there. This is how I see it. I don't see any other explanation, please, because it makes no sense.
well, one of the things that we saw when I was deployed back in 2015 and 16, when we were dealing with, the Russians were in Syria, and we were dealing with Syria and as well. We're still fighting remnants of ISIS in Iraq. We saw the Russians expend all of their guided missiles very, very early whenever they went into Syria, and they were also firing from. Let me look exactly where. I could probably pull it up, but let's just say that we can see everything in terms of U.S. intelligence, and we are watching some of their missiles coming in from. Where were they that they were firing in? I'm trying to remember exactly. Here we go. Yeah, they were the Caspian Sea, and they were firing over Iran. They never made it out of Iran. The missiles actually fell into Iran. And I remember watching these things and realizing that, when we say call it a smart bomb versus a dumb bomb versus what the Russians' definition of an actual smart bomb that's going to be a precision attack. They don't have the same capabilities um, as anything in the West, where we pride ourselves on accuracy, trying to limit um, collateral damage. Um, Russia doesn't have that, and when they do have it, it's very in limited quantity. So, if that helps explain some of their, um, it, sometimes it seems like they lob stuff over that has a very low probability of hitting a target, but it has a probability of hitting the target, so they do it. But I don't know. I was just very shocked whenever they were trying to attack in Syria before they started having some of their bases over there in Syria and trying to conduct that early on. I was like, wow, Russia really does not have the ability to surgically strike anywhere they want to in the world like we do. And I think that we're seeing that. I think that we saw that in the Chechen wars. We're seeing that now. I mean, why are they having to drop 10,000 artillery rounds a day in Bakhmut, and whatnot, or even if it's close to that or not, whatever. Why are they having to do it from a mass standpoint where in the West we're pretty surgical with things? I think that also is in the mix, if that can help explain it.
Yeah, I'm just I showed one video of this bomb strike. It was actually two bombs. It's really hard to locate where this happened. I think it happened. One bomb hit this house right here, and I think the other bomb hit like this corner of the street. But this was just a tiny town, itty bitty town. So I showed a video of that damage. Also, I forgot to mention they've been bombing Hulepol and Orkiv. And this photograph is from Hulepol, where I believe in the past 48 hours, they've dropped 4 bombs. And these are not just like random bombs. These are guided. These are guided bombs. They intentionally guided this bomb right here. This was on purpose. I don't know what the purpose was, but this was it. This is what they're going for. So good on them. They damaged these abandoned houses. These houses have long since been abandoned. Probably, I mean, Hulepole has been under constant shelling for over 12 months, and most of the population has left. So all of these houses are basically abandoned. So they're precision dropping bombs into abandoned houses, and usually missing the house and landing in the street or something, or in the backyard. So there we go. That's very impressive. Very impressive. Moving on. In Mykolaiivka, I don't actually know where. I never actually located it, but I think it was downtown somewhere. Ukraine shot a bunch of what were claimed to be HIMARS, Gimlers, into this town, and they claim to have destroyed a Russian ammo warehouse. I'm looking for the photograph right now. There we go. Here's a photograph. I don't know if that claim is true. Obviously, something blew up. I don't know if it was an ammo warehouse. It doesn't look like an ammo warehouse explosion to me. Usually, there's less left over after that sort of thing. But yeah, there was a deep strike into Mykolaiivka. Similarly, in Tokmak, yesterday, Ukraine hit a like a cafe lounge, where apparently Russians liked to gather. They hit it with like a Gimler, and it exploded. They also claim to have destroyed an ammo warehouse in Tokmak. And also today in Varvarivka, which is north of Severodonetsk and Rubizhne, Ukraine attacked these abandoned factories, which were apparently being used for some purpose by Russia. They said it was a repairing broken down vehicles or something like that. So that's kind of all the deep strike news that I have over the past few days, at least the interesting ones. There have also been a number of Shahid attacks and other such sort of things, other sorts of drone attacks as well, all over. But I guess we can get into the breaking news, or at least the military sort of news over the past few days. Up near Kupiansk, I have no news. I talked to my contacts there, and I said, "Oh, has anything happened over the past few weeks?" And they sent me a yawning emoji. So I took that as a no. Constantine, are you still there? Do you have
I'm still here, yes.
do you have any news about Novoselivska?
Oh, we lost like 3 drones over 3 days there. That's the news. Not much else. I know the news a bit south from it, in Stelmachivka. There was small Russian, I don't know, small or large. They had a platoon worth of people attacking 2 days ago. No, it was yesterday. I think yesterday.
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, they had. We got a good shell landing, like in the middle of the cluster of them. Around 10 people out of the 25 are left there. I cannot share the video right now. I'm waiting for a brigade to release it because the brigade commander was there as well. And yeah, so your drones helped. It was your drones that helped stop it and helped save Ukrainian lives. So thank you very much. I will reiterate it every time I see it, but the attack was repelled.
Yeah,
it was near Stelmachivka, not in Kuzymivka.
Yeah, so in Novoselivska or Kuzymivka, either way, I'm not really sure who controls what anymore. But I know Russia has attacked a few times in the past few days, and all the attacks were repelled. And then a little bit further south, presumably somewhere along these tree lines, you're saying that Russia also attacked here, which was also repelled. This whole kind of northern part, not terribly much is happening, to be honest. At least not that I know of. Over the past few days, there were some geolocated footage of Russian vehicles being destroyed along this tree line right here. I believe it was like 3 BMPs and a tank, not all at the same time, although 2 of the BMPs were at the same time. But yeah, it was along that tree line. I don't know when those videos were filmed either. So, but anyways, this forested area south of Debrova and Kremena is still pretty heavy combat. Not much territorial changes, just lots of fighting all the time, and very little news out of it. Russia is occasionally attacking towards Terny and Torska, with no successes. In Bilhorivka, I have no idea what the front line is anymore. We've heard that Ukraine has moved up and taken positions that they quote lost, but I don't know. No one has said which positions or where, so I don't know how to map that. They moved, but I don't know where. And Russia is attacking and failing. The same sort of news around Verkno-Kamyanska and Sperna, all not too much is going on.
Andrew, could you go back to Bilohorivka to that
Sure.
where you said that you're not sure?
Yep.
Oh, this is Karriera. Right, okay, got it. Okay, let's continue.
What? Okay.
Please continue. Yeah, I have a guy there, and wanted to ask him because I was worried that I don't have. He did not reply for quite some time, so I wanted to ask him this.
Okay. But anyways, also this whole kind of south of Siversk front from Vasukivka, Fedorivka, Razdolivka, and Vasily. No change. Russia is not even trying to attack anymore. The defense here is very strong. It's mostly fortified hills protecting these towns that are in the valleys. So it's difficult for Russia to attack, and on top of it, they're also making absolutely no effort. Now getting to this area north of Bakhmut, Russia is mostly trying to attack Bodanivka, although there is no success. I don't actually know where they're attacking from. I have it marked as right here because they're recently, about a week ago, there were a whole bunch of destroyed Russian tanks right at this, basically at the edge of this red control area. A whole bunch of destroyed Russian tanks, so I just assume they're attacking that way. They might be attacking from the north, going south, I'm not really sure. Then getting towards Kremove, there Russia is attacking. I don't know how often, but often enough, they're trying to break this road, and they have failed at every attempt so far.
I will tell you that at that road, there's only one unit I've spoke with. This is 92nd Brigade over there. Some parts of the 3rd Assault Brigade as well. They have Russians had, I don't know, either AEW malfunctioning there or not working. They managed to take some of the positions, and we just swarmed them with drones, all types of FPV drones, just dropping Vogues, and it was like 3 days. More than 60 Russians were made. Were killed there, so it's like it was just 1 day, and so that's happened around this road, and this is only from one information from one unit that I know that works with UAVs. I don't know, maybe there are also other units operating and doing the same stuff. So they suffered pretty big casualties here. I don't know if they can if they have replenishment for those.
It's good to hear. Now getting into Bakhmut itself, there have been changes in Bakhmut. Ukraine has firmly established control over this little tiny road right here. So that's why I drew a new Ukrainian control area. Ukraine has also pushed Russia out of this college right here. This was the Bakhmut Industrial College. Ukraine pushed Russia out, but did not capture it themselves, so it is now a gray area. Ukraine is also assaulting the medical college. They claim that part of the medical college is now a gray area, whereas last week Russia had captured this college. And furthermore, this kind of road, this kind of area north of the road, north of the medical college, is also now a gray area, whereas Russia controlled it prior to this. So those are kind of the major changes in Bakhmut. There was also rumors that I've not heard details, but Ukraine claims that they counterattacked in this northern part as well, and that they've taken ground. But nobody seems willing to say where that was, and I don't know if I trust that news so much. But that is a claim. So that is kind of the territorial changes in Bakhmut. Getting more into the level of destruction is kind of crazy. Here's a video, I believe, if this is the right video. That's the wrong video. I have a video. Let me find it here. The city is not doing so good. I think that's the least I can say about it. There are videos in Bakhmut that I don't even know how to geolocate because the destruction is so thorough that I can't even see landmarks. I don't. It's depressing. Like I don't know what else to say. I can find another video that kind of shows that point. If you give me a second. Here. So like this is I believe this video is from Bakhmut. The level of destruction seems near complete. There's nothing there. I don't even know where this is, to be honest. But yeah, there've been a few buildings that Ukraine has been intentionally destroying. They've been knocking them down. All of the buildings have one main thing in common, is that they have windows that face east out of the city. So basically, every building on this kind of southern part of Bakhmut that has windows facing east, Ukraine is knocking it down because they don't want Russia to use those eastern facing windows to shoot east because they would be able to presumably set up ATGMs or some other similar weapon to shoot at these roads.
You mean west, right?
West, yes, sorry. Yes, west. Thank you. Yeah, they're shooting, west. Thank you. But anyways, what do you think of them blowing up these western facing buildings? Do you think it's a sign of anything, or just logical? do you think they're preparing to leave, or do you think it doesn't matter?
If you're asking me, I think that Ukraine, like the Bakhmut, already held enough time and took Russians' attention, and it's time to leave. And that's what they're doing. That's what I believe, but who knows? I don't know really. But it looks so to me.
Well, I mean, I think it's just logical sense, because whether they don't want eyes on, any future defensive positions that are going to be in the West, or if they are afraid of those buildings whenever they take it back. I mean, I think it just makes a lot of sense to take out those buildings.
And oddly enough, you would think more of these buildings would have windows facing west, but like a lot of them just don't. So it's fewer buildings than you think face west. But anyways,
well, those high-story buildings, it always has the roof as well. But on the roof, it's easier to see people than inside the windows. So, but I do think that it's, it's probably because of that they don't want them to use them in the future.
Yep. So kind of moving on from Bakhmut, Russia is they're attacking towards Ivanivska. They're attacking towards Chasiv Yar. I believe they are moving through this forested area. They might be moving up these forest strips as well. Not entirely sure. It's not super much detail on those sorts of attacks. They've also been trying to move along this particular forest strip west towards just Konstantinivka generally, just generally west. The same goes for these two forest strips that kind of make a little triangle here. They're moving kind of west towards Bilohora. None of these, they have no success in any of those areas, but that's their attempt. Okay, so now we're getting towards the kind of interesting part of today's news. Today, there were two Russian sources, neither of which I trust. I just want to point that out. I don't trust either of them. But they both say, well, the first one said that Ukraine has successfully attacked and moved near Avdiivka, which is accurate. But I'll get to that in a second. The second one said the first one was sort of wrong in that it wasn't Avdiivka, but that it was near New York, and more specifically, these very specific fields are now under Ukrainian control. This field, this field, this field, this field, and this field. They claim that these fields are under Ukrainian control, and that he said that they moved about 1.5 kilometers, which is about a mile. And if you measure out a mile, it would be he's basically saying that Ukraine was here and that they moved to like roughly here. I don't know if that's true. I don't fully trust it. Separate.
I mean, what are on in those fields? Is it like other? Trying to understand what is the significance of it.
There's no significance of it. That's the thing. Is that the Russian people are basically saying that Ukraine moved up and nobody cares because Russia wasn't really defending this area because it's just a bunch of like empty fields and they didn't care. And Ukraine was, I don't know, like doing recon or something and claimed these fields now. So nobody's making a big deal out of this. The only reason anybody was making a big deal is just because, well, first it was Ukraine capturing something, presumably, and we don't even know if it's true, honestly. But so that's one. So Ukraine capturing something made everybody kind of happy, I guess. And the other thing is, I don't know. That's kind of it. It's just, I guess everybody's kind of bored. People are sick of talking about Bakhmut, and so it was just something happened not in Bakhmut. So I think that, and Ukraine was the one doing it, is why it became a big story today.
Let's go to Avdiivka.
Okay, so going to Avdiivka, I cannot give any details. First, I don't know the details, so I couldn't give them to you even if I wanted to. But second, even if I had them, I wouldn't tell you. But anyways, Ukraine did successfully attack in Avdiivka today.
I can confirm that.
And
I can confirm that I spoke also with a unit that we help, and they confirmed that they had success. But that's all I know. I mean, even if I knew, maybe I wouldn't. I don't know if I would talk about it,
Yeah.
but I can confirm that this happened and they were successful.
It was a hard fought fight from what I've heard. There were a large number of casualties, as you kind of would expect in an assault, and it was successful. There were prior assaults in the same location that had all failed, and this one was a success, and that's all we can really say. And also, I can also tell you that this was not performed, and I think Constantine can also talk to this, but this assault was not performed by a brigade that doesn't exist. It was actually performed by a brigade that does exist. A lot of people today were saying that a brigade that doesn't exist captured something today, which I can
Which
assure you didn't
brigade does
happen.
not exist?
Was it the 34th?
Oh, the Marine Brigade, the 34th Non-Marine Brigade, or whatever they call it. Or I don't know. I've heard someone
Anyways,
saying, I think yesterday, talking about 34th Marine Brigade, and I was like, wait, what is 34th Marine Brigade? I never heard of that. So
yeah,
maybe I did not pay attention to it because,
yeah. I
who
think
knows? Maybe.
honestly, I think I said the 34th Marines by accident once, and now
Mm.
people like think it's real, but it was an accident. It doesn't actually exist. It was like I was just thinking of the wrong number. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But the 34th they did not capture because they don't exist. I'm sorry. But anyways, another thing that I also don't have much information on, other than people, in particular the Russian people, claiming that this happened. The Russians claim that I believe yesterday, um, Ukraine attacked Vodiana and took some ground. I don't know much about that. I don't know how much. I doubt it would be very much. But yeah, that was another thing. So yeah, that's kind of the Avdiivka news I have. Other than that, Russia has been trying to attack north from Epitna, and it's been just suicidally stupid. They've taken really horrible casualties and achieved literally nothing. It's a terrible idea. This is all a giant minefield. We've talked about how this is a perfectly flat ground, where roughly right here, roughly along this tree line. Oh, actually, maybe it's this one. Roughly along this tree line is the top of a very gradual slope. You can see that the low ground is obviously this water. So from the water up to this tree line is a hill, and Ukraine controls the tree line, and they fill it with various forms of missiles, whether it's javelins or whatever else. And whenever Russia decides to try to charge across the giant open field, they get shot by missiles and die, and occasionally get hit by artillery and mortars too. Um, so that's not going well for them. The same sort of problem when they attack Savannah or take massive casualties. Pervomaisky, the town is basically destroyed, and not much is happening there either. Novelska, we saw over the past 2 weeks, Russia has been trying to move up these two tree lines right here and getting just absolutely massacred. Um, and when we move to Marinka, Russians are claiming that they control up to this street here. I don't know if it's actually true. I'm just keeping it as a gray area because I don't have. Honestly, I don't think they actually control it because they the Russians, they say that they control up to this street, and then they prove it by showing a drone video where all of the Russians are on this street, and then they fly a drone over to this street, and then they like fly around showing like blown up Ukrainian stuff, and then they fly the drone back, and that's the video. And they say, "See, we captured it." Like, I don't think so. I think that just shows that you flew a drone into no man's land. I'm pretty sure that's what that means. But anyway, so that's kind of what's going on in Marinka. Russia claims to control more than they actually control, in my opinion. Now, moving south to Pavlivka, I'm probably going to have to update this map once this stream is over, because I think this whole area right here is, or at least most of it, is actually either a gray area or controlled by Ukraine, because there have been videos of Ukrainian forces kind of in these tree lines. So I need to update the map there. It's kind of out of date. But one thing I've didn't anyway, another piece of news is that Ukraine controls all of these kind of industrial facilities right here, northwest of Pavlivka. Um, from what I understand, Ukraine never lost this, but there was a video very recently, over the weekend, I think, that showed Ukrainian forces getting shelled right there, and everybody said, "Wow, Ukraine moved up." I don't think they ever actually lost it though. Anyway, so moving on over towards Dorozhenyanka, this cemetery that's very very close to the town. Um, This is in Ukrainian control, and they're getting Ukraine is getting shelled in this cemetery slash forest area. So I updated my map to depict this area of control, and that's kind of all of my news from the southern front. Then moving on towards Kherson, just to kind of finish this off. Russia claims to have shot down a Ukrainian plane. I think it was an Su-25. They claim to have shot it down somewhere like here-ish. I'm not. There was a video of a big fire there, and they claimed it was the plane burning. I'm not 100% sure on whether that's true. But what I know is true is that I geolocated some artillery strikes here. I'm going to open up. First, this kind of Bodhi area on both sides of this, whatever this is called. I don't know what this is called. Anyway, this is all getting shelled by the Russians. Ukraine controls this little bit. I don't know whether it's transient control by some sort of special forces or if it's something more than that. I doubt. But anyway, so also this kind of area on the northern part of Potomkin Island is getting shelled by the Russians. Similarly, this area on the northern part of whatever this island is called is getting shelled. And also this Bodhi area is also getting bombed by Russian bombers. So that more or less shows this whole area. Oleshki is getting heavily shelled, mostly in this forested area. Novokakhovka and Kakhovka are both getting heavily shelled by Ukrainians. Hornostaivka also getting heavily shelled. All of these towns in this general area around Enerhodar are getting heavily shelled, much more than previously. It's a very notable increase that Enerhodar is getting, the whole area is getting shelled more. And then finally, along the whole Kinburn Peninsula, Ukraine has been pretty heavily shelling, especially not in Vasilivka, because apparently the Russians have fled this town and they've fled south kind of more into this area. But around the town, it's getting heavily shelled. And also the Kinburn Spit itself is getting heavily shelled by Ukraine. So that's all the news I got. I don't know if you have anything to add.
I don't have anything else to add, but what I can add is that there's one more thing that right now happening. It appears that not confirmed, but there are images that came out saying that Taman oil refiner, not refinery, how you call it, oil, where you store the oil products such as fuel depot. Yeah, that's how you call it. Fuel depot is being is on fire.
Where?
Taman, that's near on the other side of the Kerch Bridge, on
Okay.
the Russian side.
Interesting.
Yeah, there are images. I'm not sure that they are right. Too early when you see too much hype. When they come out. So they say it's because of UAV.
Well, yeah, if it's over there, then it's got to be a UAV.
Yeah, and I will tell you, like when people ask me what's the access for Ukrainian counterattack and how Ukraine is going to liberate itself. Sometimes I'm not saying that that's going to be the access for it, but one of the if there is one game changers that can happen is that Ukraine actually taking Berdyansk back, then it opens up such a huge area of operations for Ukraine and the UAVs into Crimea, into Russia as well, and I think that's just gonna be, Russia will not be able to sustain anything anymore in that area if Ukraine manages to take Berdyansk. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but it's
Yeah, and this here is these are the images from Pavlograd. People in the chat have asked me several questions about this, but this is the low res from Sentinel images. So this first one is from April 16th, and this is from May 2nd. And you can see a rather large explosion occurred right there. I don't know for sure what was in that very specific building, which was this right here. You can see that surrounded by earthworks and whatever. I don't know what was there. I presume that this was those rocket boosters. I don't actually know though, but it is proven that this is what blew up in that strike. And I still have no idea what hit the building in the first place. But it was something long range, because it was out of range of most of Russia's weapons. So it had to be something special. Maybe a Shahid. Maybe I don't know if a Shahid's big enough to do that though. So yeah, I don't know. War Santa, do you have anything to say?
I mean, we do know that they have some precision missiles. They're still manufacturing a few, but they can't use as many as we would like to think. I don't think it was a Shahid at all. This thing had some penetrating power. I think that this was a lot bigger. And typically, I mean, when you're going to want this type of desired effect, you're going to be looking at, you're going to be looking at something bigger. I would hate to guess, but we have seen in the very beginning of the war them hitting with some other precision
it could be a Tashka
missiles, and I would think that it's something else in their arsenal.
Could be a Tashka.
I don't think they have a lot of them.
You only need one though. I don't.
Russia has a lot of Tochkos. It's just they said that removed them from the service, but they obviously brought them back.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take out a building, I mean, it has the accuracy, it has the firepower.
You can use and you didn't shoot one, you shoot like 3, but Tochko has like 50-meter reliable accuracy.
I mean, this is a big building. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, 150 meters. So you use 3 of them. What is the distance from Pavlograd to?
It's quite far. Check. It's quite far.
Tochko has only 90, I think, or 120 kilometers.
I'm just gonna measure to deploy. Why not? It's 78 miles. So like, no, it's pretty far. I'm sorry, this app only measures in miles. All other unit systems
miles, just multiply by 1.6, so it's 140, let's say. 145 miles. There's kilometers, 145 kilometers, so that's outside the range of Tochko.
So this is the town where this fire is in. I don't know where the fire is. I have no idea where that facility is. Here somewhere. But yeah, it's right there. It's right across from Crimea. Ukraine has a bunch of weapons that could hit here if they wanted to. Probably a drone, like what's it called, a Mugen 5 or whatever. They've been probably launched like 5 of them or whatever. It seems to be their thing, is launching them in groups of 5. Yeah, I don't know where the facility is though. Anyways, anyway, Warsan, do you want to talk about your cars?
Oh, talking about what we're trying to raise money for.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk a little bit about the org if you don't mind. It'll be kind of brief. So before I even truly knew that a lot of the war was on Twitter, I had already 3 gear runs on my belt, and I jumped on, got a part of a well-known organization for a while there, and then got out because long story on that one. But myself and Isaac, who is Marine Ukraine on Twitter, my college best friend Paul, Manis McCaffrey, and then I have another guy that's out there. We created a organization called the Victory Team. We are still working with our lawyers on the nonprofit. We should be filing like next week, maybe. But here's the thing that makes our organization a little bit different and why we're looking for vehicles and a few things. Every single one of us has been in the front lines. 4 out of 5 been in contracts. 3 out of 5 have been wounded, like in the hospital from operations out there in Ukraine. Now, 2 of us are back out there, actually in Bakhmut today. And I saw a photo of. In fact, I'll share a photo on Signal, so you can actually see how bad one of our vehicles is. It still runs.
Send it. Can you send it to me on
I'm sending it to you on Signal real fast.
on Twitter?
Well, sorry, it was really fast on Signal. But you'll see that our vehicles are beat the living hell. And ignore the top image. That's a inside thing. But yeah, we're needing 2 vehicles for Bakhmut. Our guys are in command level in GER. And that's why I don't necessarily put out exactly what units that they're with. So that's one of the things that we're doing. And then 3rd Battalion, we actually working directly with 3rd Battalion International Legion. We're also they actually have the supplier for a bunch of the uniforms that they truly need. But the Ukrainian ones, they're very specific, and they're getting from a United Kingdom surplus store $5 a top and $5 a bottom. So we're raising for that. I just delivered 185 key mags and magazines that actually fit the M4 all the way to Kharkiv 3 weeks ago. That's 2 things we got going on. But yeah, as you can see, and if you want to post that photo, or maybe I can scrub it real fast and put it on your Twitter to show the.
Yeah,
this thing is still. It's been blown up 3 times.
I cut it so it's just a trick.
Okay, there you go. There's good old Paul. Yeah, so that thing has seen better days. It's actually been blown up a couple times. It's still running. It doesn't have a front bumper. I'll leave a little NAFO character, but yeah. So we are really, really low on vehicles, and that was actually. I mean, we're even using the personal vehicles. Those have been blown up. So yeah, we're needing 2. We have a little bit of money in the bank, but the vehicles that we thought we were going to be able to purchase, we can't anymore. So now we're having to go a little bit more. So we're needing around $4,500, and we should be able to round out 2 more vehicles. And then see, and the uniforms are pretty much taking care of themselves because that's a low hanging fruit. We're buying enough uniforms, about 150 people. Myself and another donor are actually footing that bill. We're footing at least half of that. We're looking for another. We put that post up earlier, but I think we're already needing maybe only like $700 left. So yeah, our fundraisers are kind of working. I have another big thing that's one of the things that kind of makes us unique. It's not necessarily about we're working for through our nonprofit status. You actually can go 2 years retroactive, which is kind of interesting. Something we learned recently from the lawyers. But our focus realistically is high-end equipment and hard to get equipment to the warfighters to actually make a big difference. You know, we're really not trying to focus on the uniforms type of thing. that's just low hanging fruit that we're able to do, and we know those guys because our guys were part of 3rd Battalion for a while. But we do focus on night vision as a big key thing. We focus on Tech 15s. We work at, I'm working right now on possibly helping the Ukrainian government in terms of some thermals, and they're going to be the ones purchasing that thermal scopes. We really focus on giving Ukrainian units and Western units a force multiplier out there on the battlefield. We've been around war, most of our adult lives, unfortunately, for some of us. I've only done 10 years and then I'm volunteering in Ukraine. But some of our guys have way much more experience. And we're really trying to impart that on, the Ukrainians and the different units that we're involved in. It helped create the Georgian Legion's Night Vision Division, like they like to say. I just took out some more PECs out there to round out. So they should have a PEC or a PEC-like.
So a PEC, a PEC is like a
15. It's the IR laser for
a laser for night vision sort of thing.
Driving me nuts, and not to go on a rant, but this is probably a big thing for people to think about. A lot of people request, PVS 14, but they never request the correct sights, even if they're using iron sights, even if they're using, red dots. It's hard as hell to aim at night. The easiest way to aim is to get an IR laser that's got a good pressure switch that you can turn on off when you need it. That is going to be able to hold 0 under the recoil of like a Bren 2 or whatever weapon system that they're using. A lot of people are I need this, and it's like, okay, what good is that without the ability to actually operate it effectively? And so we're pairing all of our PVS 14s that we're getting into the country with PECs. I just did another 15 PVS 14s. I did another 15 thermals. But I wasn't able to pair those with PECs because we just didn't get the donor money. I've done one of the things I think that makes me a little bit different than a lot. It's that I have brought close to $200,000 worth of equipment, but our organization has only raised about 20, if I looked at it, probably about $25,000 as I'm speaking right now. And the reason why, it's because I'm connected with, and some of the units I support are like the Gonor group, and SPU's Alpha, and quite a few others. They actually buy the equipment. We get the paperwork. We do all of that, and then I bring it into country. So I've war muled close to 200,000, and I've donated about 25 myself. And then our organization's done about 25. So that's kind of what we do. It's kind of our specialty. We're not trying to be a here we're going to get a bunch of camelbacks for everyone on the front. No, we want very specific a very specific impact, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I kind of do want to throw out there for I don't know how many people are listening because I'm not looking. The War Santa moniker is actually something I hide behind because my job doesn't know what I do. Nobody really knows what I do that knows me, except for maybe a handful of people on I can count on my both hands.
Did we meet in Austin in church with you by any chance?
Do what?
Did I meet you in Austin, Texas, in the church, like on the event when Sarah came there as well?
Oh no, Paul was there. So the guy
that was Paul.
That was Paul. If you put him up back on that screen with that busted vehicle, that was actually today. So there's Paul out there.
Yeah, I guess I spoke with the Paul there.
Yeah. So Paul and I went to college together at the University of Texas.
I gotcha. Yeah, I was thinking that where I saw him.
Yeah, he's a good dude. A little special. But yeah, we go back, and that's actually the reason why I do everything in Ukraine. It's because of Paul. I'm one of those people that if you're my friend, you're my friend, and I'll go halfway around the world for you if you need body armor. Um, yeah, that's kind of my story, and I'll be talking more about my story tomorrow on the mirror report. Um, yeah, I one of the things is I don't like it to be about me. I can always walk away from War Santa because War Santa is not my name. So I think that a lot of people out there don't understand that it's not a narcissistic thing. It's actually a thing that I can set aside, and it helps me uh, whenever I'm actually doing the job that I'm doing because I lug around 300 and something pounds of equipment every single time I do this. So it's not an easy task, and I don't I don't think anyone enjoys being a gear runner. It's just not easy. It wears you out, and you know, the gravity of the situation. I see a lot of things on Twitter. This is not a glorified volunteer position. It sucks. The stuff that you're taking is life saving. But at the same time, let's say that you're only able to meet half the goal of what's requested. That means half the guys still have to carry out a mission and their lives are on the line. And that's depressing. So, yeah, this is one thing that I just want to make clear to a lot of people.
And there's yeah, it's a dangerous job. I think I mean there's stories, but that's for another time, I guess. So anyway, so you're trying to raise money for cars. You're trying to get gear for troops. You're working with a number of groups around Ukraine, and I think generally speaking, you're doing good work. And I invite the people to go listen to you tomorrow. Talk about your organization and whatever else you're going to talk about there.
Well, I'm definitely going to be talking about the funny story of the one funny story about the Goner group, which I think I spoke with you about. It's like how over a year I didn't know, you know, I was supporting the same person. So you by two different means, and those were stressing me out. But you know, there are going to be some interesting stories that I will talk about tomorrow.
All right. Well, thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah.
It was interesting hearing about the especially the drone stuff, about the Global Hawk. I know a lot of people are interested in hearing that because we hear Global Hawk talked about every once in a while, and most people have no idea what it does. There's also other planes that people talk about that some of them I have no idea what they do either. But anyway, so thank you for coming and talking about that.
One benefit that maybe sometime we talk about, it's while everyone's screaming about F-16s, I think that a lot of people need to understand that when you're dealing with a huge operation in general, it's not as simple as giving equipment. You know, you just can't drive and fire a tank. You can't. The aircraft are completely different monstrosities just to deal with, and I think that would be a good thing. And I can shed some light, and I might be able to actually pull in a former F-16 intelligence analyst to actually discuss why this is difficult. In fact, her husband's a commander of a squadron, but I'll see if she's cleared to talk a little bit.
That would be
And
awesome.
it might help explain a lot of why F-16s for Ukraine, they're just not ready. So I think she'll be able to shed some light.
Yeah. That would be fantastic. I like having guests on, especially experts on things. So yeah, if they want to come talk, then they're invited to.
Yeah, I'll ping her and talk to her. Actually, she's been messaging me while we've been speaking.
Yeah,
So
it can be very
I'll
last minute too. Like this is not a formal thing. They could just
yeah,
show
by all
up one day.
means.
We it's every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So if they want to just show up, it's fine with me.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk offline and ping her. So.
All right. So thank you, and thank you everybody for listening, and thank you to Constantine for coming and talking to us. And we'll be back on Thursday.
Excellent. All right, well, you guys take care.
All right, bye.